is where I teach you all the little tips and tricks, how to shrink signature boxes, how to add documents to your loop, how to create folders within your loop. We go over all kinds of great tips on that third section. Like I said, is my favorite section. So this is what once you're logged into Dotloop, this is what it looks like. This is your dashboard. So how do you get in? Now, everybody that belongs to the MLS gets a watered down version, a basic version of Dotloop, but that wasn't good enough for the Layer agents. Stacy, our CEO, Stacy Alcorn, the CEO of Layer Realty, wanted our agents to have the best software out there to organize a paperless and electronic signatures. And she has joined and paying for the agents to have the Dotloop Premium account, okay? Premium means that there's over 3,000 MLS forms in here that can be interactive, sent electronically, and have electronic signatures. And so you have to be invited into the brokerage. That's how you get in. So once we, Layer, get all of your paperwork that we need filled out, you then are invited into the Layer Brokerage Dotloop account. And I will send you an email with the information that you will need, your login information, because you have to log in with the email that I give you or that Layer gives you. And then you're going to be good to go. So that's how you would know. So that's one of the biggest questions we get quite often is people will say, I'm in there. Why can't you see my loop? It's because they're not in the premium account. And how do you know you're in the brokerage account? If you go to the left of the screen, it'll say premium. If it says anything other than premium, you're not in the right one. If it says you have practice loops, or if it ever asks you for money, you're not in the brokerage account because, again, I said Stacy is paying for this for the agents. So let's just, we're going to start with the first section is setting up your loop for success. So how do you do that? Well, 90% of the work we've done for you. So it's going to be so much easier. We've organized it all for you. And you're going to see as we go along. So the first step is if you have a listing or buyer agent, you're showing property, you need to go in and create a loop. Now, one of the main questions we get is when should you create the loop? The great thing about Dotloop is the answer is the same if you're a listing agent or you're representing the buyer. You want to set up your loop prior to your first meeting or right after your first meeting with your client, because there is paperwork that needs to be signed. If you're a buyer agent, we all know that you're not supposed to show any property unless an agency disclosure is signed. So you should create your loop prior to meeting your client. And I would say prior even when you're a listing, because if you don't get the listing, it's not going to hurt you. You're not going to get charged for how many loops you have. So you want to have all your ducks in a row before meeting your client because it makes you look professional. Not only that, you can assist them in signing the paperwork if you have it all filled out. You can have them go into their email, you can show them where to sign or how to sign electronically. So it just gives you the edge to get the listing instead of saying, oh, I'll send it to you later. When you have all your I's crossed and T's crossed and I's dotted, you look more professional and you're eager to work for these clients and they're more likely to sign for you. So hence, have your loop and your paperwork filled out prior to meeting with your first client. So how do you do that? It's very easy. 90% of what you're going to do in Dotloop is going to be on the right-hand side. And everything that's blue is an interactive field, okay? So again, on the right-hand side, we're going to add a loop. Just add this. And now you're going to put in the property address. If you're listing the agent, you're going to have the property address. If you're a buyer agent, you're not going to have the property address at this time. So you're going to put your client's information here and then change it to the address after you have purchase and sale, because all of the loops should be submitted by address. It's easy for accounting. So we want everything by address. So we're just going to put this 123 Main Street. and I'm going to put test, and I put today's date just so I know. And we ask that you don't just put the street address, but you put the city and the town and the state, because we do have agents that work in several states. So what you're going to do, once you put the address in here, if you're a listing agent, if you're a buyer agent, you're going to put your client's name. You're then going to hit this blue, it's on the right-hand side, continue. And this is where you're going to pick, this is where we at Lair have done all the work for you. So you see there's a drop-down list, because if I try to continue, it's going to say you must pick a loop template. So basically they want to ask, they're asking you, how are you acting? Are you a Massachusetts listing template? Do you need paperwork for Massachusetts buyer? Do you need rental paperwork? Do you need rental tenant? So this one is for the landlord. This is for the tenant. Maybe it's a commercial template. Maybe it's New Hampshire. We still have more. There is a drop down here. We have New Hampshire, we have Maine, we have Rhode Island, we have Connecticut, and we have Florida. These are all of the real estate forms that instead of you having to search through 3,000 plus forms, we have made these templates for you. So it's very easy. You just pick whichever one you pick is going to put the paperwork that you need into your loop. You won't have to fiddle through paperwork you don't need. If you're a listing, you're not going to need buyer agent forms. You're only going to need listing agent forms. So we did all of that work for you. And so for these training purposes, we are going to say we're a listing agent, or we need listing paperwork, and then I'm going to hit continue. I do like this. This is just, I do particularly like this. You can skip this part if you want to, but in order to upload a picture of the house, you just hit upload. You find where it is stored on your computer, and then you can just upload it. I don't have any houses in here, so I'm just going to put an eagle in there. Oh, this was too small, so it's telling you. Let me see if I can get. There we go. So I uploaded this. It's blueberries, but you would put the house in here, and then you're going to hit done. So now what is Dotloop doing right now? Right now it's saying, okay, you've created a loop. You told me you're the listing agent. I am now going to take all of the forms that you will need as a listing agent, and I'm going to put them in this loop for you. Okay. So remember what I said, that blue was an interactive. You should always put the status, always change the status to active, to under agreement, to sold as you go along. This is very important. And you always want to enter the price of the house. If you don't know it, because you're just going on a listing, you can always open up the loop, and there it is right there. So you can change it here too, okay? Once you change this to under agreement, it'll ask you how much you sold the property for, and it'll ask you the closing date. So pretty much what you want to do, that's how we create the loop. That was section 1, how to set up, but that was only part 1 or part A. Part B to setting up your loop for success is go and scroll down to the people section. Please do not skip this step. This is a vital step, because when you go to fill out any of the paperwork, if you do not have your role as an agent here I am, and I have to give myself the role, I'm the listing agent. Anywhere a listing agent has to sign, it will assign my name. Same thing with your buyer or your seller. So I'm in this training, I'm going to represent the seller. So we're going to add our seller, because there is definitely paperwork that they are going to have to sign. So I am going to set up, this is my buyer. I always use Mary Glavy. She's one of our admins. She graciously helps me with these trainings, but I add her as my seller, and I have to give her a role. This is vital, because if you don't give your client a role, then anywhere the seller needs to sign, it will not assign her signature there. So we do want our seller to be able to sign any of the documents that a seller needs to sign. Now, once you do that, all of this information is required by the state of Massachusetts if they do come in and audit us. My recommendation would definitely be fill it out, because you probably have this information in front of you. So we're just going to fill this out real quick. It's not going to take much time at all. We don't need a company name. We do need where your client lives, because we all know that where the client lives and the property they are selling is not always the same. So we are going to put this as 125. Let's see, we'll put her at Maple Street. Does not live in the place that she's selling, but this is where Mary Glavy lives. We're just going to fill this information out right now because I have it in front of me. Cell phone, we don't need her cell phone. The cell phone or landline always goes here. You can disregard cell phone. And then we don't need marital status. You're going to add the person. Now you're going to notice that I have Mary Glavy. She's the seller and I am the listing agent. So that's part B of how to set up a loop successfully. And the last part C, which is fill out the paperwork. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up here to the paperwork. Now, before I go up there to the paperwork, there is this other folder in here called other important information. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close that and collapse it. So right here is everything. 95% of what you're going to need as a listing agent is right here. You're not going to have to look for any other forms. They're all right here. But just in case you may need another form, maybe you need an extension. Notice there is no extension here, but if you go down to where it says other important documents, there is the extension right here of time. If you just click and hold it, you can drag it up to the main loop, and then you can close this again. If you're like me, you like a clean workspace. I only want to see things that I need. I don't want to see things that I don't need. And basically, like we said before, 95%, 90 to 95% of what you need is right here in this folder inside the loop called listing folder. Now, over here, you can see in red, we have required. These are required documents by the state and by LAIR. So the affiliated business arrangement disclosure is required by LAIR. Your clients have to sign this if they use our title company or not. It's just making them aware that our CEO has other interests in a title company. They don't have to use us, but if they would like to use us, that would be great. So they have to sign it either way. So that's required. These are required by the state, exclusive right to sell and mandatory agency disclosure. So what you do to fill it out, it's very easy. You just click on it. It's recognizing, it's saying, hey, I recognize that Mary Glavy's the seller and that you, Lisa, are the agent. Do you want us to autofill this where you would sign? And I'm going to say yes. But this is where you could also put the property address of the property you're selling or they're selling. Again, I would highly suggest that you put this in now, but you don't have to. But I'm going to say autofill. I'm going to say here, autofill, hit autofill. Now notice how it's going to insert my client's name. Always going to type in my company. This is really great. My last name is Perruccio, and a lot of people spell it wrong. And so this is a really great feature that if you put your client's information in the people section, it'll always be spelled right. Their name will always be spelled right. You just put it in once. Remember, blue is interactive. So any blue fields you could type in here, you could say there are both video and audio things. You could give yourself, let's say, a whopping 8% or 9%, 8%. And then you're going to go all the way down here. So anything that's blue, you can fill out. You're going to go down here and notice how it has, see, it has a place for the seller to sign. It's already been assigned to Mary Glavy. Now, I just have to click over here and it says sign now because it recognizes that I, Lisa, am the agent. It is saying adopt and sign. So you don't have to drop signatures. You don't have to go up here and add a signature, drop it here, then assign it. It's done for you if you put the role in the people section. So always, always add the role to the people. Dotloop always defaults to 2 sellers and 2 buyers. If you only have 1 seller, all you have to do is click on the one that doesn't have your seller's name, and you're going to go over here to assign, and you're going to assign that second one to no one. So you just hit this and you assign to no one. So when you share this with your client to sign, it only have one place for her to sign. Again, if there's 2 sellers or 2 buyers, it'll say Mary sign here and it'll say hubby sign here. So, and then of course we're going to save. Now we're not going to save and share because we want to send all of the listing documents out in one email. If I saved and shared it right here, then open the next one and saved and shared, and then the next document, if it was lead paint, saved and shared, your client would get 3 separate emails with each form in each different email, which is not what you want. It can be done so much easier. You can send all of the paperwork in one email. So how you do that is you just fill out what needs to be sent and just save it, and then we're going to all send it at once. So this is just saying it has not been shared. Do you want to share? No, I don't want to share right now. So I'm going to show you that one more time. We're going to go to the affiliated business arrangement disclosure, which is required. We're going to autofill this. And down here, it has a place for Mary to sign. You're all set. You're going to save that. And so we're going to go back over here. We'll do it one more time. Notice how it goes from required to not submitted. So it means that you filled it out, but you have not submitted the loop for review, which we don't have signatures yet. So we're not going to do that. But I want you to notice how it changes it from required document to not submitted. That means you filled it out, but you have not submitted it to the Dotloop team. So we're just going to hit this again. I'm going to hit autofill. Now, because this is the same form that we use if we represent the seller or the buyer, it's very imperative that you, as the agent, check off one of these here. We have checked off designated agency because if you work for Lear, you are always a designated agency. You are never non-designated agency, but you must check off here who you represent. So we're going to check that off. And then I am going to sign this. Now it automatically puts my name, and I love this feature because in my profile under my account, I put my license number. I'll never have to remember my license number again on any paperwork because I put it under the information under my account in my profile. I'll show you how to do that in section 3 of the training. And are you a broker or are you a salesperson? And then again, this is Mary Glavy. She's our seller, so make sure you do that. We do only have one seller, so we're going to click on the other option and assign this to no one. All right, now we're going to save this. And now we're going to go back. This is just saying you have not shared. Do you want to share? We're not going to do it. Now I'm going to show you how to share all 3 of these documents to your seller in one email. So they're going to get one email with all 3 of these in there. And it's just going to be easy to have an automatic signature, electronic signature. Now you're going to see once I click this, a big, huge share button is going to show up here again. It's on the right-hand side and it's going to be blue. So I'm going to check off all of the documents I want my client to sign. There's the share button. I'm going to click off all 3. And then I'm going to hit the share button, which will open up the email capability within Dotloop. So because we gave Mary Glavy, we gave her the role as the seller, it recognizes that she has to sign. So it automatically gives her the ability to sign. You're not going to have to mess with any of this. And that is all because you gave your client the role in the people section. I can't go over that more and more. Do not skip the people section. Do not skip adding a role. Now, before you send this to your client to have them sign, there is this thing here attached as a PDF to email. I always highly, highly suggest that everybody check that off. What does that do? That gives your client 2 ways to sign the paperwork. They can sign electronically using the Dotloop link, or they can sign it as a PDF, which they're going to have to download and, print it. Then they're going to have to sign and upload. But the reason I do this is because maybe your client wants their attorney to check out any paperwork before they sign, or it's older people and the kids might say, Mom, don't sign anything until I see it. If that's the case, they can forward the email with the attachments. They can't change anything in the attachments as a PDF, but they can read the attachments and then they can say, hey, Mom and Dad, I read it. It looks great. You can sign. they can then go back in and sign electronically. So I highly recommend that you check this off. It just gives your clients two ways, two abilities to be able to sign or review the documents. They can forward the documents. So right here, you're just going to add your message. Hello, Mary. Please sign. Okay, and then what you're going to do again, it's blue and it's on the right-hand side. You're going to share. So what it's doing right now, it is sharing all three of those documents in one email. Notice how it went from not shared to waiting on others. So this is saying you filled out the paperwork because it went from required to not submitted. You sent it to your client, but she hasn't signed it yet. So that is the end of section 1 of our training, which is how to set up your loop for review. Let's see, I don't see any chat, so I'm going to, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. I am going now to the second part of our training, which is how to submit your loop for review. A question that we get quite often is, when should we submit a loop for review? Great question. And the answer is the same. I love it for if you're a seller, a buyer agent, or a listing agent. The answer is the same. You want to submit your loop for review right after purchase and sale, and you've received all monies and inspections have gone through. So basically, when should you submit your loop for review? To the Dotloop team. So Lair Realty Partners has a wonderful Dotloop team that goes in and makes sure that we have all the documents that the state required fully executed, okay? And what happens is when you hit the submit for review, it's a letting them know, hey, I'm going to have a closing. Now, the closing can be 3-4 weeks off. It's okay. If you have purchase and sale, you have all monies for the purchase and sale. So you have your earnest money deposit and you have your purchase and sales deposit, and you've passed inspections, that is a flag to you that you should submit your loop for review and also at the same time do a check request. Why do we say do a check request at the same time? Because doing the check request alerts the accounting department. Submitting the loop for review alerts the Dotloop team. The accounting department doesn't do anything until the Dotloop team says your loop is approved, which means, what does your loop approved mean? It means that according to the state and according to Lair, all of the paperwork that's required by the state and by Lair is in the loop and it's fully executed. Everything is filled out correctly. So then they say, yes, you can start processing checks. And we do that too also because it's a lot easier to get a signature on something prior to property being closed rather than after a closing. 99% of all loops that are not approved is because the lead paint is incorrect. Not because of our agents, it's mostly because of outside agencies are not training their agents how to fill out that lead paint correctly. And so you're probably going to have it returned to you, and it's not even your fault because the buyer agent didn't fill it out correctly. So again, a lot easier to get a signature from a buyer prior to a closing than trying to track them down after they have sold their house. They're probably moving. They have their computer in boxes and et cetera. So when should you submit your loop review? It's all the same for a listing agent or buyer agent. You want to do it after purchase and sale and after inspections. So how do you do that? Okay, so right over here, before we go into that, just so you know, Lair Realty also has helped you by, I want to just show you. So my seller, I just wanted to refresh this because my seller, Mary, she signed these documents. They are now signed. So you can see that, okay? So Lair Realty has even given you this little handy dandy pending checklist. So everything, if you open up this, and this is going to be in every loop you created, it's going to have a pending checklist, We have it for Connecticut. We have it for Rhode Island. We have it for Massachusetts. We even have it for Florida. So if you want to know what it is, Lair and the state is requiring me to have fully executed, if you just open this up. Okay, Mary is telling me my chat is disabled. All right, I will do that in a second, Mary. Thank you. So I forgot what I was doing. Oh, so this is the pending checklist. So I will do that in a minute. I don't know why it's saying that. All right, let me see. Can you guys see my chat now? Hopefully you can see my chat. Right here, this is what Lair is recommending right here. So if you're on the buy side of a transaction, we need all of this fully executed. Everybody knows fully executed means that all parties have signed. Okay. It will be returned to you if it's not fully executed. So agency disclosure, signed offer. Now, you should always have a signed, fully executed signed offer. Even if you know, a lot of people we go into purchase and sale, so they don't bother to get the seller to sign the offer. You're really doing a dissatisfaction to your buyer, because this proves to your buyer that the seller did show the offer to the seller. The selling agent, the listing agent showed your offer to the seller and say they rejected it because there was 5 offers on the house. This is proof to your client, hey, I wrote up the offer, I gave it to the listing agent, they showed it to the seller, and the seller rejected your offer because they picked another offer. So you should definitely get this. You just need to do your fiduciary duty to represent your client. Purchase and sale agreement along with addendums. We always get the purchase and sale, but we never always get the addendum. So if there's an extension of time, if somebody's name's coming off or being added on to a purchase and sale, those are all part of the purchase and sale and need to be fully executed. So all addendums are required. Buyer agency contract. This is with everything that's going on, where now this listing agent does not have to, if the seller does not want to compensate the buyer agent, they don't have to any longer. So more and more buyer contracts are going to come into effect. If you have or use buyer contracts, we are asking that they get fully executed. Seller's disclosure of property in the state of Massachusetts, this is not required. However, if your seller filled it out, your seller is saying, I am giving you, my listing agent, information that I want my buyer to know. So if your seller fills this out, then the buyer needs to sign, and it needs to be an exclusive right. If your seller doesn't fill this out, or if you don't send it to the seller, you won't need it. In the state of New Hampshire and Connecticut, this is a required document by the state, so you're going to need it. Lead paint, obviously, we only need it if built prior to 1978, and the affiliated business arrangement disclosure. Okay, so all of this is by the state. The only thing that isn't the state is this affiliated form and this buyer contract. In some states, this is a required document. Connecticut is required. Okay, in the listing side, same thing, all fully executed, agency disclosure, listing agreement, purchase and sale, and all addendums, seller's disclosure, only if seller filled it out, buyer needs to sign, signed offer, lead paint prior to 78, copies of all deposit checks, and the affiliated business. If you have all of this in your loop and it is fully executed, you're going to have no problem whatsoever submitting your loop for review. So how do you submit a loop for review? Right over here, again, it's on the right-hand side and it's blue. You're going to hit submit for review. Now, before it can hit submit for review, we don't have the property address in here. Remember how this popped up and I did not fill this in. We filled in Mary Glavy where she lives, but the property she's selling is not the property address. I mean, the property she lives in is not the property address we're selling. Now, this window here is just giving you information. This is really not where you would plug it in, although it seems like you could plug it in here until you want to pick the state, and then it won't let you. So this is just telling you we're going to need property information here. And if you scroll down, it's also going to tell you that we need the year built and the MLS number. In order for you to submit for review, you're going to need these. So where do you input this information? You're going to exit out of here and you're going to go to view details. Under the view details tab, it's going to list your seller right here. It's going to list you as the listing agent. If you added the buyer agent to your people, it's going to be here. If you added the seller's attorney, their information is going to be here. So we had Mary's information, but we were missing this right here, the information of the property address. Now, if you're a buyer agent and you go in and create a loop and you put in the address of the listing, it will pull it from the MLS right here, all on this one line. Unfortunately, it has to be broken down by street number. So we're going to say 125. We have to put the street name. We said Main Street. We said it was in East Long Meadow. The state, we'll let you pick where the state is. Here, it's going to put the MLS. Now, you can put it'll take non-MLS or it will take a number, okay? So if this is a non-MLS, you can type in non-MLS in here as well. And then, of course, we need the year built. This is required by the state. So year built is required by the state. The state could come in and say, I need a list of all properties that you have on the market right now that are built prior to 1978. And we have to be able to give them that list. And then they look for the lead paint. So what you're going to do is you're going to fill all of this in and then you're going to hit save. Make sure you hit save. And then you can hit the submit for review. But I want to just go here. Before we do that, notice how there's these different folders inside here. So this one says other document. This says listing folder. This says new folder. Because when you submit for review, we're missing some. What are we missing here? Year built. We put that in here. I don't think it's going to take it here. You're going to have to go. You have to go to this thing over here. Sorry. Somehow it's asking us to enter this twice. I'm going to have to see why it's doing that. I think it's down here. I think it's because see, under property, year built, it's in here twice. So I'm going to have to fix that. And let me see, the MLS number is here. So we'll put non-MLS. And we're going to save that. So you're going to submit for review, and now it's asking out of the 3 folders that are in this loop, which one has all of your paperwork? Well, there's nothing in new folders, so we're going to get rid of that. Everything that we have that's signed is the listing folder. So that's what we want the Dotloop team to review. We want them to review our signed documents that are in the listing folder. We didn't put anything in the other documents. So you're going to hit, what type is this? You are a listing review and you're going to submit for review. Now, when you go over to your desktop, you're going to see now that it's gone from required in red to not submitted to submitted. This is very good. If you're a very busy agent and you have 2 or 3 closings in 1 month, you're probably going to say, I don't remember if I submitted the loop for review. If you just open up if you go to Dotloop and you open up the address, you'll see if it says submitted, it means you did. If it says not submitted, that means you have not submitted it to the Dotloop team. So I'm going to pause right there in case anybody has any questions right now. I don't see anybody in the chat. I don't see any questions. So I'm just going to keep going. But if you do have one that comes up, just type it in there. I can see that you wrote a question and I'll try to answer it. So, so that's how you submit a loop for review. And that's also how you set up. So we've done both sections, section 1, how to set up your loop for success, and section 2, which is how to submit your loop for review to get paid. 2 very important trainings. The third section we're going to do is all these little tips and tricks, which are my favorite to do. And so what I want to do before we start that is I just want to go to this is your dashboard, okay? All of these are the things that you are working on. Now, this is showing, I want to set this filter. So right now, it's only showing me all of my active. Remember how I said you want to always change the status? This is why it's very important, because if you want to filter, you're going to want it to filter by the statuses. And so it's very important that you fill out the status. So if it went from an active listing to an under agreement listing to a sold listing, you want to do that. So right now in my training folder here, it's just showing me my actives and my under agreements. If I uncheck everything, it's going to show me every loop I've ever created in this training. It's just going to go on and on and on and on forever. So this is just going to keep going. It's just got to rethink because there's so many in here. So again, if you're a very busy agent, you're going to want to use this filter system. Right now it's off, which means it's showing me everything. You're going to want to just see your active listings. So you want active listings and you're under agreements, and you're going to apply. So now it's only going to show me status of under agreement and active. So if you don't change this status and you use this filter, you're not going to be able to see it. But the reason I like this is maybe it's the end of the year or the beginning of the year, and you want to send out to all of your sphere of influence what the market looks like in 2024. Very easy to do. You're just going to go to filters and you're going to uncheck everything, and then you're going to want to just filter by solds. And this is going to give you all of the solds that you have. And I have it sorting from the most recent to the least recent. So it's going to do solds, these that I've created in the most recent days. Now, I'm going to go into this because you can change how it sorts. But right now, if I wanted to maybe send a congratulations letter or what does the market look like in 2024? These are all the people that I sold to. Maybe you want to do an anniversary, who had an anniversary, it's been 1 year since you sold your house. I would love it if you can refer me to your friends and family. It's easy to do this by this filter. So I'm going to uncheck this and just put actives and under agreement. And I'm going to apply it. And it's telling me I have 2 filters on. So another way you can see here is I have it filtering by, actually, you know what? Yes, I have it filtered by under agreement and active listings and under agreement. And you could do this, so you can do it I have it by closing date. Right now it's by closing date, but you could do creation date. See, this is the one that I just did now. So because this is an active listing and I'm sorting it by the creation date, giving me the most recent to the oldest, it's right there. It's going to be on top. So this creation date is very important. You can pick by last updated. You can sort by transaction price, list date, expiration date, closing date, submitted for review. These are all your options. I prefer creation date. This way, your most recent one is going to be on the top right here. And then you have the choice of 3 views. This is called the grid view. This is my favorite view. I think it's just cleaner and neater. Then you have a list view, and then you have compact view. But again, I prefer grid view. And remember, everything that's blue is an interactive field. So you could put right there, what these are sold for. So this is your desktop. But now I want to show you, we're going to open up our test one that we're working on. I want to show you how to add a folder. Now, automatically it adds a new folder when you create one. There's nothing in here. If I click on it, there's nothing in here. So say we have buyers that are interested in this. So what I would do is just go over here again on the right hand side, these 3 dots. You're going to rename this to say buyer folder. So now you're the list agent, but you do have a buyer that may be interested in this property. So you've just added a different folder in here. You could add a folder here that says backup offers. So now I have a folder that says backup offers, buyer folder, listing folder. So you can put all of your backup offers in here. That way you have everything, all the client's information, the agent's information. If for any reason the offer that you have here, it falls apart, or if it's your buyer's offer that gets accepted, you'd have the offer here, but then it falls apart. You'll have everything you need right here in the backup offers. So that's how you add a folder. A lot of people add a folder if they have a transaction coordinator and they just copy things or move things into the transaction coordinator's folder. Now, this gives me 3 ways that I'm going to go to the buyer folder. 3 ways, again, on the right-hand side, add a folder. It gives you 3 ways to add documents here. This one here is all interactive templates. That means electric signatures here. Okay, so we need a offer to purchase, contract to purchase. If you hit this and then you go and you look for a master layer file. So this is all the Massachusetts MAR forms. This is all New Hampshire forms. These are all Connecticut forms. I have Rhode Island forms and Florida forms because we don't want you looking through, New Hampshire forms if it's a Massachusetts deal. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to type in and search that I want a contract to purchase. Offer contract to purchase. I'm going to check that and I'm going to copy it. And what it's done is it's put in a template that I can now fill out. Of course, I would add my buyer information in, down by the people section and you autofill it. Okay. So that's one way you can fill this out. Another way to add documents, very easy, is you have it saved as a PDF somewhere on your computer. Very easy. You're just going to hit browse. You probably go to your downloads, wherever your downloads were, and you're going to put it in there. That's how you do that. A lot of agents are taking photos. This will not allow photos, only PDFs. As an agent, it's not professional for you to take pictures of signed legal documents. You really should download and upload as PDFs. This is not professional whatsoever doing photos. Please do your client, please service your client well and put PDFs in. Then this section here is the email section, which is my favorite section. What this does is, let me explain it first. So every time you create a loop, it creates an email that will drop PDFs directly into this loop from an email. If it was attached as a PDF. So basically we'll say an agent sends you a offer in an email as a PDF. What you can do is you can forward that email with the offer attached to it to the email that is created for this loop, and it'll drop that PDF offer directly into this loop without making a duplicate loop. So let me explain that. You create a loop as the listing agent. Somebody sends you an email, they use Dotloop, you open it up in your email, you just open up the offer you want to see it. It automatically, if they created it and sent you in Dotloop and you open it up in your email, it will automatically create another loop with the same address. So now it's a little confusing because you have your loop as a listing agent and now you have a buyer agent's loop. You never, ever want to work out of anybody's loop except for the one that you create. So if you're a buyer agent, you should always create your own loop. Do not work on the listing agent's loop. It's just not right to do that. So what you want to do is, I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm going to go to my emails right here. And I have an offer right here from Peter Marino. So what I'm going to do is, notice how it has it attached as a PDF. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this email and I'm going to forward this email. Oh, I forgot. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. What you need to do is you need to go here and you need to copy to clipboard. So what it's doing, it's copied this email address that will drop that PDF directly into this folder. So I copied it. You go over to your email that has the PDF attached to it. And you're going to forward this email. You're going to forward this email with the PDF. You're going to paste the copied link, and it's going to drop this offer. It says offer from Peter Marino right into the loop, and then you send it. And I'm going to show you that that's going to show up right here. It's going to say offer from Peter Marino. So I have to refresh my page. There it is. So notice how it put the offer from Peter Marino, offer to contract. Nope, wait, it hasn't done it yet. Hold on. Let me refresh. Does take a little time. There it is. Offer from Peter Marino. So it took that PDF that was in an email and dropped it into this right here because I used that email, built-in email system. Now, say we don't use Peter's offer, but we can hold onto it and drag it up to backup offers. Now that's in my backup offer folder. Okay, so this is a very, very good tool right here, is this built-in email system where we'll take a PDF that's attached to an email and drop the PDF directly in here. I love this feature. I know a lot of agents don't use it because they don't know about it. So I am going to continue my training. I want to go into, so I just told you how to, how to add a folder. We told you how to add documents in here, but I have a lead paint here. And so once you get a lead paint, we're going to go, this is also, you should always upload the entire brochure to your listing because this says that you received the brochure. So when you're a listing agent and you have a lead paint, you should always post the entire brochure, including the signature page. Do not just upload this page. So basically, I got this from the seller. They're saying the seller has no knowledge and they have no documents. So you have to go in here and you have to add your buyers. You're going to add their buyer's initial, add initials. Now, notice how I add this here. The Dotloop team cannot tell if this is signed in C or D. So what you have to do is you want to place the initial box and then take your cursor until you get the two arrows like that. Hold down and make that fit. So then you can go over here until you get the cross. There's the cross. So you got arrows so I can make it fit just like that. And then when you get that, I can see, okay, it's going to definitely fit in D. Now, notice how the Dotloop team is going to know that that's your signature. You're going to sign it to your client, just like that. So we'll do that again. You're going to add a initial. Then you're going to get your, you see the two little arrows like that. And then when you get the cross, like that, you can move that wherever it needs to go, just like that. Then you're going to assign it to your client. And you're going to do the same thing with the signature at the bottom of the page. Purchaser has to sign that, and then you just assign it. So you got to make sure too that all lead paint have the complete full address. It has to have, if it just has 123 Main Street, that is an infraction on this form, and we can get fined $10,000 per infraction. So you're going to save that, and then you're going to send it. So I wanted to show you just how to use and shrink these boxes, because this is the number one reason why, right here, this is the number one reason why loops are not approved, is because this is not filled out correctly by the buyer agent. Just as a point of interest, if the seller does have lead paint, it says explain. You write here de-leaded. So you would check, yes, they did. And you're going to say, what are you going to give them? You're going to give them the letter of compliance. And at that point, then C, E, and F need to be done. You have to put a check mark here. This is not incorrect. This is incorrect. If there is no check mark there, you're going to add checkbox. They received their right. So you can just do that. You can even check it for your client for you. It will allow you to do that. And save all your changes and then share. So now I want to show you how the Dotloop team, I did say that Dotloop does have a built-in email system inside it. So I am going to, this is how the Dotloop team is going to communicate with you. If you hit this little icon, which looks like a computer with 3 dots, this opens up the email system. But what I want to do is, I want to go to the people section because a lot of people down here won't add the buyer agent because they're afraid the buyer agent can see everything that's in the loop. That is incorrect. And I'm going to give him the role as buyer agent. Okay. That's incorrect. Nobody can see anything that's in your loop unless there's only one caveat. If you add anybody as a team member, so we're going to add Christine Vastek. So you say, we're going to say that she's our transaction coordinator. You're going to want her to be able to see everything in your loop because she needs to she's going to need to see everything, and you're going to label that she's a transaction coordinator right here. So you put add as a team. Now this is going to give you a warning that this cannot be undone, and basically they're going to be able to see everything in your loop. So it's giving you a warning. You're adding this person. Again, you would only add somebody on the team if number one, you have a team and you're the team leader and you want to see everybody's loops. So then you want your team to add you so you can be able to see them. And number two, only if you have a transaction coordinator will you add somebody as a team. Other than that, nobody can see your loops unless you share a document with them. So let's go back up to the mailing system. Now, notice now it has Peter Marina, who's the buyer agent, Christine's the transaction. So say I need to send Peter an email. So what you do is the one that's highlighted in black is the person you're sending it to. So I want to say, hello, Peter, I never got. Please send me fully executed offer. All right. And then you're going to send that. And now you're going to see that today, at today's time, Peter got this message. This is how the Dotloop team is going to communicate with you. They're going to tell you what they need. They're going to see, anything else that needs to be done. Now, with that said, I want to go back here because nobody knows about this feature, but sometimes underwriting wants to see a signed document by your client. So if you go to these 3 dots, again, it's on the right-hand side, you're going to see this thing that says signature verification. It is going to bring up this, which shows you who signed, the day they signed, the time they signed, the ID signed, the IP address they signed with. They're going to email varied, it's accepted. So this is why a lot of attorneys are accepting Dotloop electronic signatures because we can prove all of this here. So you can either view the document or you can print this. You can then send it to the underwriting or whoever needs it. So I'm going to X out of that. And there's another way of doing it too. It will only show up if the document's signed. If there's no signed document here, you won't see where it won't say verification, signature verification, because it's not signed. So another way of getting to that document is if you open up the signed document, right up here, you can hit this Dotloop signature verification, and it'll bring you to the same place. So I just like to show people that because sometimes underwriting does want, they want to see these signed documents. So you can do that. You can share the document there. So I like to go over that. The reason why I love that it's very important that you always put, where you are, your status here. So what did you sell this for? Purchase price. We sold this house for $850,000. Let me see. 85,000. And we're going to put the closing date at the end of November. So what I like about this is you can always change it if you made a mistake. No worries. So there it is, 185,000. So what I like about this is because in your loop at any time, when you hit this reporting, it's going to tell you. Now, this is a bad one because I'm in the training, but it would tell you how many completed transactions you have, how many are under agreement, what fell through, and what is started. So it gives you a very clear picture by hitting this reporting, but it's only as good as the information you input. So if you have things that also, it's only showing you my actives because remember, I had it filtered. So let's unfilter this. And now I do reporting. It's going to show me, well, I haven't started. This is a training session. But the reason I like this reporting is because if you're diligent at changing the status and putting the sale amount here and putting the date it closed, you can have at a one click, you can see how your business is doing. One click. So I really like that. But again, it's only as good as the software is only as good as you use it. So it's definitely going to need status here. It's definitely going to need when it's closing and how much it's sold for, so it can give you that information. Also, I want to show you something. So if you open up a loop and you go into activity log, this is another reason why, again, attorneys are allowing this. It is telling you absolutely every single thing that I did today in just this loop. It gives it a timestamp. It says I downloaded a document. It says I opened a document. This is really good if you sent the lead paint to the agent and you don't even know if they got the email. It'll say they looked at it or they signed it or they opened it. So this is really good. And that's under the, again, you have to have your loop open like this, and you just hit the activity log, just like that. If you're in your database, if you're in your dashboard here and you hit right here, activity log, it's going to give you the activity log for everything you've ever done in any of the loops. It's going to break it down. It's going to give you a new address. It's going to say who used it. Set training for 10. So it's all going to be in there. Okay, so I like to tell people about that. We only got 3 more minutes, so I am going to pause to see if we have any questions at all. I do the training twice a month. I am scheduled again for, I think, the 21st. So you could just go to lairagentservices.com and you're going to go under training, and under there's events. And so you can schedule the training there. If you have any questions between now and then, just send an email to happyagent@lairrealty.com. They will assign your question to me. I will either respond by email. I do work Monday through Friday, so I'm in every day. Or if I think it's better that I pick up the phone and call you and have you walk through, I like to walk you through what we're doing so you understand how to do it in the future. I'll do that as well. So just a big thing. One thing I want to end, because this is one of the biggest questions we get. It says it won't allow me to submit for review because I can't put the state in. Just remember that whenever it's asking you and submit for review and it won't allow you put the state in, you have to go to the view details tab. And that's where you can change all of the information that it's asking you, requiring you in order to submit the loop for review. So their view details page is is very valuable to know where that is and how to get to it so that you can get to submit your loop for review. All right, well, that's it for now. I don't see any questions. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, my other guest there. I'm sorry, Paul. Thank you, Paul, for joining. And until next time, happy looping. I'll see you January 21st, same time, 12:30. Thank you, everybody. Have a great, blessed night. Bye-bye.